So, Solstice of Heroes, we've had about a week of it now. A lot of you out there have completed a lot of the challenges that were provided with Destiny's summer event here, and a lot of you have probably even gotten your armor all the way up to the magnificent form, glow and all. Well, I want to take a little bit of time in this video to talk about the Solstice of Heroes, how the event is going, what I like about it, and what I think could still be improved. What's going on, Guardians? My name is the Black Link, and that is what we are going to be discussing today. So let's go ahead and dive on into it. Now, for those who don't know, maybe you haven't been playing Destiny at all, Solstice of Heroes started last week. This is a summer event that is supposed to be kind of a celebration of Guardians and everything that you've done throughout the story over the last year or so. In previous Solstices, like back in the first one, I think in 2018, they took that really literally. Bungie put out a redux version of story missions that basically you could go into. There were special modifiers, like different enemies and all kinds of things, and you kind of went through pivotal moments of the original Destiny 2 story with some big changes in there. It was actually kind of fun outside of the fact that you had to run them so much. I really kind of liked the redux story missions, but this time around, there's none of that. It's literally just the return of an activity that we had last year, the European Aerial Zone, and the armor. The armor itself that you get for starting this quest starts out as, uncommon armor. You upgrade it to the legendary Majestic armor, and then you can upgrade that to the Masterworked Glowing Magnificent armor. And you do that by completing the challenges attached to each piece of gear. These are going to be different based on the character class that you're playing. So if you're playing like a warlock, you're going to have challenges that ask you to go and do like 10 heroic public events or 5 strikes and little things like that. Or to go play in the new activity, or rather the returning activity, the European Aerial Zone, which is just this kind of separate world space. It's an activity that's match made. You load into it. You basically take down a bunch of mini bosses within like a 5-minute time period. And based on the number of mini-bosses you defeat, you'll get a set number of treasure chests at the end that you'll have about 2.5 minutes to go around the entire world space and try to find. It's a fun little activity. I enjoy it. I'm glad they brought it back. And I think it works overall pretty well for the Solstice of Heroes. And honestly, that's what I'd have to say mostly for this event. It's kept me pretty busy. I haven't been nose to the grindstone for this. I've been taking it pretty casually. I've only gotten one character finished thus far. Really, and by finished, I mean up to the magnificent point. I haven't done all the stuff like getting 7 wins in trials and all that kind of stuff yet, but I'm at that step, which is generally as far as you need to go if you're a more casual player. And it hasn't been as annoying as last year. Last year's Solstice was insufferable. It was way more grindy. There were way more armor steps to complete. You had to take it up, I think, from green level armor to blue, then from blue to legendary, then from legendary to masterworked on all 3 characters. And it took forever. And I think you only had like 2 or 3 weeks to get it done, and it was a lot of grinding to put into that small time frame. Thankfully, Bungie learned from our response to last year's Solstice of Heroes and did something really fantastic this time around. Once you've gotten one character up to the Majestic armor set, I do believe, once you've gotten them up to that step and you finish those objectives, your next character, if you go and then play on a second character like a Hunter or a Titan or whatnot, you're going to get increased point gains for that character when completing the challenges for that armor. So if you completed one character, your second character, you're going to get twice as many points towards your progress on the armor step. So you won't have to run quite as many strikes. You won't have to run quite as many games of Gambit or all of that kind of stuff. It's going to go by much faster. And then once you've completed your second character, your third character gets 3 times the normal amount of progress. Meaning, finally, this event is easy to get done if you're somebody who has 3 different characters. Fantastic change by Bungie. This is something I think that they need to implement into all of their future events, whenever they have different rewards based on the class that you're playing in whatever type of event they do, like whether it's the Festival of the Lost that's going to be coming up in a month or 2, or if they do the Revelry again next spring. This is something I hope that they implement every time they have any sort of event in Destiny 2, because believe me, it sucks when you play 3 characters and the triumph is tied to getting everything done on all 3 characters. And when it's something as grindy as the Solstice of Heroes armor grind, you don't want to sit there and have to play all those strikes or play all those public events or play all those missions. So it was really good that Bungie did that. That's probably even my favorite thing about this year's Solstice of Heroes. When it comes to the challenges themselves, they weren't as bad as last year, and that's really kind of the biggest compliment I could give it. I was just hoping that it wasn't going to be as monotonous, as grindy, as boring as it is last year. And while the challenges, the actual act of completing these armor challenges is boring, it absolutely is. It wasn't as bad as it has been in previous years and as it could have been. I was annoyed having to run, 5 strikes for my warlock and then run even more strikes to generate elemental orbs. And I think a lot of people were annoyed when they had to go and do stuff like heroic adventures or 10 games of Gambit and stuff like that. And honestly, I believe in future versions of this event, I think it would probably do Bungie well to replace those steps that force you to go into very specific activities that you may not like doing, and instead just say, go play 5 playlist activities. Like I said earlier, there's a step on the early part of the Warlock armor that requires you to do 5 strikes. That just dragged out for me. That was awful. That was probably one of the most awful parts, and it's only 5 strikes. It's not like it takes forever. But I think they could probably replace that by saying, okay, rather than doing 5 strikes, go play 5 playlist activities. So if you like Crucible, you can go play 5 games of Crucible. If you like Gambit, you can go play 5 games of Gambit. If you like the Contact public event, go play 5 instances of Contact. Anything that is a weekly challenge or a playlist activity, I think, should apply for that. And then when you later upgraded to the legendary Majestic armor set, it was go play 10 games of Gambit. I would love it if I could just have played 3 or 4 games of Gambit, gotten sick of that like I did with the 10 games, and then gone to play Crucible or something else that I actually enjoyed. So hopefully in the future, Bungie does something like that, rather than pigeonholing you into activities that you may not want to play. Because after all, Solstice of Heroes isn't about making you play lesser played activities. It's supposed to be about a celebration of your Guardian, and especially generating those elemental orbs, and they can do that in pretty much every game mode. So maybe Bungie, next time, not forcing me to play something I don't want to play. Additionally, this is something we talked a bit about on the Planet Destiny podcast last night. The Magnificent Armor step. I thought it wasn't that bad, but there's kind of a weird dichotomy between some of the challenges to upgrade armor. Now, these are universal across all 3 classes, so everybody had to do the same thing once they got to this step. And of course, this is the final step for your armor to become its full glowed version. And there were steps like complete a Grandmaster Nightfall. Okay, that's easy. Do Altars of Sorrow. Okay, that's really easy. Get 7 wins in Trials of Osiris. Whoa! Talk about going from 0 to 100 real quick. And I think, I understand why Bungie did that. Trials of Osiris is one of their marquee game modes right now, but in an event like this is something Aura brought up, our buddy Aura on the podcast, and after he explained it, I 100% agreed with him. For an event that is supposed to be accessible to all Guardians, not just the people who have a static raid group or a static trials group or stuff like that, Bungie should probably not make any challenges that require you to use those static groups. I think Bungie would have been better served to have replaced the 7 wins in trial step with something similar, but in the comp playlist, something that's match made. Notice there were no raid challenges on the Magnificent Armor step either. As a matter of fact, I think the 5 challenges to complete your magnificent set of Solstice armor were win 7 trials matches, which is the crazy one, complete a Nightmare Hunt, easy, complete Pit of Heresy, easy, complete Master Nightfalls, easy, and defeat 3 Altars of Sorrow final bosses. So it's weird, the rest of those are all either match-made activities or activities that you can get done as a single player, except the Trials of Osiris thing. So I think Bungie would probably be better served if they had replaced that with just 7 games of comp, which is something you can match-make for. Remember, like I said before, Solstice of Heroes is supposed to be a celebration of all Guardians. It's supposed to be something that's accessible to all Guardians, whether they're a more casual player that might take their time over the next 4 weeks in getting this done, or the high-end player who does have the static group. So maybe next year they could axe out the trials part and replace that with something like comp. But other than that, the challenges really weren't too bad. Like I said before, a little bit boring, especially with some of the more tedious playlist activity steps, and I think Bungie just replaced that with generic playlist activities. So that way, people can go play whatever content they want, whatever content they enjoy, and still make progress towards it, still grind it out, rather than directing people towards game modes that maybe they really don't want to spend time in. Maybe they really don't want to go do 10 games of Gambit. But ultimately, the Solstice of Heroes hasn't been that bad. A little bit boring, a little bit grindy, but certainly nowhere near as bad as it has been in previous years, and I really enjoy a lot of the changes that Bungie made this time around. So, not bad. Not super great, but not bad. And if they bring the Solstice of Heroes back next year, I'll go ahead and say, while I like the European Aerial Zone, I don't think we need to revisit that activity for a third year. They could probably come up with something new. But alright, Guardians, those are my thoughts on the Solstice of Heroes 2020. Just figured I'd give you a little bit of an update. I've only done my Warlock in its entirety, well, at least except for some of the magnificent armor sets. I've got the Majestic armor all completely finished on my Warlock. I'll be starting on my Hunter sometime this week, and I'm very much looking forward to the enhanced progress gains, getting those points 2 times faster, and then 3 times faster when I finish that and go to my Titan. Fantastic change. Best thing about Solstice this time around. It means you're actually going to have a chance at getting all 3 of your characters done without having to grind your head off. And I'm definitely taking the more casual option here. But anyways, those are my thoughts. Be sure to leave me yours down in the comment section below. How do you feel about Solstice of Heroes this year? Was it easier to complete for you? Did you actually get more than 1 character done? Our buddy Nim Plays got all 3 of his characters completely finished over the weekend. That should tell you how quick and easy it is to get done this time. But anyways, be sure to leave me those thoughts down in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed the video, feel free to drop a like, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest stuff we're putting out. That's going to be it for this one, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. And as always, I am the Black Link. You Guardians, stay frosty.